Well, with me in the studio, Professor Daniel Miller. He is a digital anthropologist at University College London and the social media specialist Drew Bentley. Welcome to you both. So is it fine fettle, in good health, if you were to do a kind of little health report or school report on Facebook age 10?
I think age 10, yeah, it's a good innings for any internet company. It's certainly experiencing growing pains, and from what we're seeing, every user is different. The young and the old are using it really differently.
Yeah, so just expand on that a bit.
Well, Facebook over the last year has grown by 117 million users. It's still leading in terms of all social networks across the world. But amongst the youth market, people are starting to say it's uncool, and they're going for more private and specialist social networks where they just want to do one thing, like share a photo or send a message.
Daniel, I'm tempted to dwell on what is a digital anthropologist, but we'll kind of park that bit and just say, well, I mean, do you think that in the social media age, 10 years is a very, very long time, and we shouldn't be surprised if Facebook is slightly getting over the hill now?
So yes, it's a very long time, and what we're seeing is actually an expansion of a whole lot of other social media that now kind of crowd out the field. So we can no longer think of Facebook in a sense just in its own terms. I think one of the most important ones is things like the Chinese social media. You have things like QQ, which are almost as big as Facebook, but tend to be kind of ignored over here. And I think, though, that the 10 years as a long time means it's changing what it actually is. We talk about this thing called Facebook as though it's static, but as was pointed out, Facebook 8 years ago is not the Facebook we see today. The Facebook we see today has a different relationship to people, and to different people, to older people, possibly a decline in the young, but you could say, yes, it's maturing.
Yeah. How much do you use Facebook? It's just a matter of interest. I mean, do you find Facebook an essential tool of your everyday life?
I do, and obviously since I'm studying it, I would be on it rather more than most people, but I enjoy it. I found it valuable, and I do feel like a lot of these people that because I've been using it for quite a long time, it's not that it's exciting and cool, but it's like a bit of an old friend, it's been around. I can see photos of myself from a few years back, and of course that changes your relationship to things, just the time that you have been on it.
True, I was very struck in that piece that Nicola Middleton was asked the question, what about beheading videos? And you kind of think it's quite an easy answer to that. Of course we don't want to see beheading videos. She didn't say that. I mean, they do have issues, not just about what is tasteful, but what is secure, and whether you've got your privacy guaranteed, and whether they also couldn't quite answer the question about, how much do you talk to the sort of intelligence services about the stuff that you're putting on?
I mean, yeah, first of all, there's the company line, so they have to be a mission-based company, whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
But in reality, they've got to figure out how to appeal to all corners of the world. Only one of the cities, the top 10 cities on Facebook, speaks English. Number one is Bangkok in Thailand, number two is Jakarta. They've actually got to deal with lots of different cultures here, and policing content, not only from across the world, but that matters in different ways to different cultures. A, that isn't simple. B, I don't think they've really nailed the strategy on that. So I think they're torn between trying to be completely open and being a place where you can go to see absolutely anything, and being sensible and being a bit grown up.
Yeah, Daniel, is that part of the growing pains to try to work out where it stands on some of these, controversial questions, which I'm sure that, Zuckerberg didn't think about in his room in Harvard, about what happens when the NSA comes and says, can we have access to some of your data?
Yes, I mean, you couldn't have expected Facebook to predict kind of all the consequences it's going to have, and one of the reasons for that has just been mentioned. Facebook now actually is not the company. I think we're dwelling too much on the company. We have over 1 billion users out there, and they do live in places like Thailand. And our studies as anthropologists, we have to see all the global social media impact study. We're looking in China, we're looking in Brazil, we're looking in India, we're looking in Chile, because each of these, in a sense, is its own Facebook. And you have to now start to contend with the cultural dimensions.
Is it wrong to talk then of one Facebook?
I certainly think it's wrong to talk about one Facebook. The platform is similar. But one of the things we're doing right now is we're comparing what people post in Trinidad and the UK, and they have almost nothing in common with each other. The English posting is very English, lots of sort of self-deprecating humour and irony. In Trinidad, that's not what you're going to see. You're going to see a different kind of glamour, you'll see all these kind of what we call motivating memes, a lot of things coming out of religion and nationalism. You don't see that in the UK. Yes, these are different Facebooks in different societies, which of course is why anthropologists are particularly interested in them.
Yeah, and I guess that difference will carry on, won't it? Because Facebook is what its users want it to be, rather than it being a sort of top-down management of Facebook saying, this is what it shall be. Very
Yeah,
good.
totally. But they've got the new apps coming out, so they're going to see people using Facebook just for messaging. But they're going to see people using Facebook just for photo show. That's why they bought Instagram a couple of years ago, so it's only going to continue getting more different.
Both of you, thank you very much indeed. And let me just say that if you want to get in touch with me, why don't you do it on Twitter? I'm at BBC John Sokol. We're delighted to hear your views. Thank you very much indeed. You can contact us on Facebook too then. At facebook.com/BBC World News.